Welcome, everyone, to episode 108 of the Missing Pieces podcast. If this is your first time watching or listening, as this is available everywhere that podcasts are available, my name is Greg, and this is where I sit down and I discuss my life, Lego, and anything else that's on my mind each week. And this week, I'm coming to you on a short week. This episode is being recorded on a Friday, as it should be, but last week's episode was recorded on Sunday because my nephews happened to be here over the weekend from visiting on Thanksgiving. And it got me back into the schedule that I used to be on Missing Pieces that really didn't work, but I did for the longest time. I would get up on Sunday morning, I would come down here, I'd record an episode for however long that takes, and then I would edit that video, I would export the video, I'd upload it, and it didn't work because, one, it took time away from my family. On one of the 2 days that they're actually home for, I'd come down here and my whole morning would kind of be spent on this. And then also the video uploads got very unpredictable. I like having these out at a certain time, and because of the recording time and all of the stuff that's involved in uploading, you never knew when Missing Pieces was going to come out. Sometimes it wouldn't come out until 6 o'clock on Sunday night, which was not acceptable to me. So I eventually got smart, and I was like, why don't I record these on Friday? Because Friday, it's like nice and quiet here. My day is almost done. My week is pretty much done, and I can still do the same thing just on a different day. It's just not quite in as real time, but it works so much better. So as a result, I'm shifting back into the good schedule, but I only have 5 days to report on. And to compound that issue, I kind of lost my way this week. I don't know what better way to put it than that, but you guys know that I'm a vlogger at heart. I've been doing it for over 10 years, and I've shared all kinds of things. But this week, I don't know what it was. I guess maybe a part of it was that I was editing like crazy because of Clark being off last week. We had tons of footage to go through, and also Thanksgiving, and it was just like I was editing constantly. And I was like, I could share my days of what I'm doing, but I don't feel like what I'm doing is overly interesting. I don't have anything to share, is what I thought. And I didn't really record much this week because of that. But just earlier today, I was doing some organizing. Between editing and organizing, this week was very successful in that regard. It's just, I didn't record it. But I was thinking about this while I was cleaning out my clothes and I was getting some things together to donate. I was thinking, maybe what I should be sharing here isn't always just the great exciting stuff, because I guess that's what most people want. But I think there's a certain group of people, and maybe even just for myself, I think my real job here is to record what it's like to be a self-employed content creator, a stay-at-home dad, and involve my family into that, like kind of, these are my days where I'm by myself. This is me picking up Clark, man. This is us together. This is our family doing these things. It doesn't always have to be like the big celebrations like Thanksgiving. And that's where I needed to get out of my head. It's just like the best thing you can do when you're vlogging. And I know this doesn't apply to nearly anyone that's watching this. This is mainly for me. Just hit record. Just record whatever it is. It's sort of like my principle here. Consistency. It's about showing up. If you just show up, things will happen. Like today, for example, this episode, I was like, you know what? I don't really have anything to talk about here. But what I decided to do was, after I was done cleaning up, I came down here and I sat down on my computer. I opened up a blank document and I was like, let's just think about what happened this week. And I typed a few things out. And then I was like, well, let's go into last week's episode and we'll look at the listener feedback and see what people had to say. And that's when I was like, I'm inspired now, because your guys' feedback was so good. And I can't wait to get into that part. So bear with me as I get through the little bit that happened to me this week and the things that were important to me. And then we can get into the real good stuff, which is all the things that you guys had to talk about. So this week, kind of a lost week, if you want to call it that. But I did get some things done. It just wasn't recorded, but I do want to record it going forward. I think I have a lot to share, and I think I can be an inspiration to maybe people that are trying to become self-employed, maybe work for themselves, to show what that is, what that's like, and just show like what it's like seeing like just a normal guy living his life, because that's hard to find on YouTube. When I find people that are like that, like Builder Buds, for example, I'm like, dude, I'm all about this. You could be literally doing anything, and I'll watch, because I think it's entertaining. And I'd rather see somebody keep it real. If your day really is just editing and maybe taking the dog for a walk and picking your kid up from school, how is that any less entertaining than Thanksgiving? Oh, don't answer that. But there's something to be shared, and every day is special. And I tell Clark that, and I need to tell myself that and remember that. So this week, a little bit of an off one, but I don't intend for this to be the future. I'm gonna pick the ball back up and we're gonna run with it. So that was Greg's world. Luckily for you, if you're watching this, brickitect was running all cylinders this week. It was awesome because, well, I guess it's just so much easier in the world of Lego because there's something to be shared. You know, when you're living your life, you actually have to think of like, okay, what's interesting today? What am I doing? Oh, I'm doing this thing, or this is kind of fun. But when you're doing Lego, it's like, oh, I have all these sets. Let's just build one. Or, hey, I got this box from Target. Let's open it up and see what's inside. Like, that world is much easier to live in. So brickitect was great this week. I love it because we're in December now, and as far as I'm concerned, it's Christmas season. Anytime after Thanksgiving or Black Friday is now Christmas season for me, and we're getting into some of the Christmas sets and enjoying that. I have the wreath partially built right off screen here. Clarkman built the Santa's front yard already, and I have a whole list of stuff in my backlog of Christmas builds for us to do, which is really fun, and I'm excited to share all that. We're also doing the Advent calendars as well, and I love the Advent calendars so much because it's something that we do as a family. We actually been doing them in the evenings now. So Cody comes home, and after dinner we come down, which I usually like to do them in the morning, but she doesn't have the time for that, and I want her to be there, and she wants to be there too. So we wait until after dinner, and it's like our little thing. We come down. We've done only 2 days now. Today's the 3rd, and it's fun just getting into them. We're doing 3. We're doing Lego City, Lego Star Wars, and the Marvel Advent Calendar. So that's really fun. And I just love December for that reason. I love December for a number of reasons. I love the whole Christmas spirit that people are in. I like that people seem to be happier. I like the Christmas music on the radio. I'm a very holiday-oriented guy, and it just makes me really happy the whole month of December, just because there's so much to look forward to. I think that is probably the biggest thing. I just really love like thinking about all the things that are to come. You know, it's great. So brickitect's good. Everything's kind of rolling along there, including missing pieces. So I feel good about that. But another thing that I've been feeling good about, and I've actually probably been putting more time into than my vlog channel with 500,000 subscribers, I'm putting it into a gaming channel where I get maybe a few hundred views on each video that I put out, which is still good. But I've been really enjoying making content, editing content, and uploading content to Greg's Arcade. You might think that I'm crazy for putting time into something, you know, that's small versus like, well, why would you do that instead of making a Lego video or putting something on your biggest channel of all? And for me, it's like, I've kind of fallen back in love with gaming. I've talked about this on a few other episodes that we've done recently. I've been watching gaming content on YouTube, mainly like the history of Sonic, for example, or the history of Sega. And it's just really fun to get into that life again, because I used to be really into video games, but then there was something in my mind, probably the same thing that was in my mind when I said, hey, don't go to college to be a graphic designer. What you should go for is finance, because you'll actually get a job in it. That same voice in my mind said, don't waste your time on video games. There's nothing to be gained from video games. It's not productive. Why don't you do something that's productive, Greg? Don't do that. Well, you know, it can be productive. I can live stream my gameplay and share that with the world. It may be a small audience there, but there's people there. I can take funny moments and make highlight videos out of it, which I enjoy doing. But what I really love most of all right now on the gaming channel is that it feels fun growing something again. It's been so long since I like started a channel and grew it. And for me, that's like half the fun. Like I love setting goals for myself. And it's, you know, once you kind of grow your channels up, you know, don't get me wrong, it's very nice to have an audience. It kind of just coasts, you know. You might get some subscribers here and there. You might lose a few here and there, but it just kind of, you know, everything kind of just rides. It's fun going back to that upstart and being like, okay, I'm going to put a video out today and I hope I get 200 views on this video. This is going to be awesome. And then when you see it and you're like, okay, next video, I'm going to try to get 220 views. And I don't know, it takes me back to the fun that I used to have in making all these channels. But I've been enjoying the gaming content. Clark loves it. And that's kind of another reason that I've been into gaming as well, is because I know in our future, I see Clark really leaning heavily into games. He loves Minecraft. We've been playing arcade games as well. It's just like, we're just having so much fun, and it's great during the winter time. Like RC stuff is our summer. We love doing that. We go on vacations. We love to swim. You know, all the things that you can do outdoors. But when winter hits, it's like, oh crap, what do we do now? And we build a lot of Lego stuff, but it's fun like getting on playing some video games. We have a lot of laughs, and it's just a good time. So the fact that I can share that with him, which makes everything for me more fun. And then if I can justify the time invested by being like, well, I'll make a live stream, because we're just doing it anyway. So why not hit a live stream? And then, this funny thing happened at like 50 minutes into the stream. Let's clip that and make a video out of it. All of a sudden it becomes a business, and it's very easy to justify and be like, hey, let's go all in on this, because that's what I do. I go all in on everything. I go all in or I go none in, and usually it's all in. So that's been fun, and I've been enjoying that. I've been trying to put out like a video every day on there, and people seem to enjoy it. So I have like these goals in my mind. I want to eventually hit a point where every single video that I upload to Greg's Arcade gets 1,000 views within the first 2 days. I feel like if I get to that point, and it's just an arbitrary number, but it's one that's higher than where I'm at now. And I'm like, if I get to that point, I'm going to consider myself a professional video game player, which is it's just crazy to think like you can make money playing video games. And I'm going to tell you, if you're a kid watching this or listening to this and your parents say like, you can't do this, you certainly can. There's lots of people that do it. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to dedicate yourself to it, but it's fun. And if you're having fun and if you're enjoying yourself, I think that comes through, especially if you put your personality into the things you do, which is what I always recommend people to do. So that's been great, growing that and seeing where that goes. And it's just fun. I'm just having a great time. So everything's it's running well. I just need to get out of my head in some of these things and just hit that record button and share what I'm doing. Because I know there's people out there that are going to enjoy it. Your audience is out there. They might not be overly thrilled as an RC enthusiast to see you making the perfect crock pot meal, as a stay-at-home dad. But there may be another stay-at-home dad or stay-at-home mom or whatever that's like, Greg, that recipe looks fire. I'm in on that. So I need to think about the broader spectrum of my audience, because I know there's kids that watch my stuff, which is cool. And there's adults that watch my stuff, which is cool. I love the fact that I can go across multiple generations and that our channels can be one. And I hear from the parents that they can sit down and they can watch our stuff and not just be like annoyed by the content that their kids watching, because I've been on that end of it. So I'm hoping that I can continue like making stuff that kids can tolerate me and the adults can tolerate Clark or whatever, and we can all make this work. So I'm feeling good about that. And just honestly, like, this is the reason I do Missing Pieces, because when you're feeling down about yourself, and I say yourself speaking about myself, honestly, me just sitting down here and just letting it out like this always makes me feel better. I always feel better after I do Missing Pieces than before I do. Anytime that I've ever had doubt, like, oh, this isn't going to be a good episode, I have nothing to talk about, I don't have anything worthwhile to share, just like on Greg's World this week, I always do. And when I'm done with it and I click that button, I'm just like, yes, I'm so glad I did that. I've never regretted sharing something like this or sharing a video. I've always regretted not doing it. And that's something that I need to make a part of my mental state. I've always regretted not doing it. And regrets is not something that you want to have in life. So do the things that you think you're going to love. And even if you don't think you're going to love it, you may actually love it. And you'll remember that when you're done. Because even right now, I'm just feeling good. So that was kind of like my week in a nutshell. I did watch a movie with Clark Mint and Mrs. Brickitect that was on HBO Max called 8-Bit Christmas. It was calling to me because it's related to gaming. And there's not a whole lot of gaming in it, but it centers around Doogie Howser, or Neil Patrick Harris, as he's known in some circles, as an adult telling his daughter about the year that he got a Nintendo back in like 1988 or 1987 or something, and the whole story around it. Think of the movie A Christmas Story, only instead of a Red Ryder BB gun, it's about a Nintendo. It was a fun watch. It was definitely better than Home Sweet Home Alone. So if you're like sitting there thinking about both of those, I would lean towards this one, especially if you're an adult. But if you're a kid, you'll probably love Home Sweet Home Alone too. But I had fun watching it. One movie I'm thinking about watching again, I haven't watched it in years and years and years. I want to watch Tron, which is available on Disney. And I want to watch the Tron Legacy movie as well. What got me interested in this is I've been watching a lot of these videos on YouTube about these arcade one-up machines where they basically replicate these old arcade units. And the newest one that came out is Tron. And I was watching people like set it up and play it and stuff. And I'm like, that Tron game's kind of neat. I remember watching Tron Legacy when it came out, which was like probably 10 years ago or more. And then I watched the original Tron after that. And I don't remember liking it nearly as much. But Tron is basically like a guy gets sucked into a video game basically, or at an arcade, and he's playing these games like in real life. I don't know what I can compare it to. I'm sure there's another movie that is Ready Player One, maybe sort of like that, I suppose. And it's just, at the time, it was cutting edge technology. It came out before I was even born, so think about that. But I want to rewatch them, and maybe I can report back to you next week. I'll talk to you about Tron and Tron Legacy, and we can discuss if it's good, if it's bad, how bad is it, how good is it, and maybe I'll be so inspired that I'll get one of those Tron unit arcade machines, which I probably won't because of space concerns. Again, it's like anything you take into your life, you really got to think about, which we'll talk about here in listener feedback, which we're going to jump into right meow. Starting with Builder Buds, there's a couple comments here that were related to talking about time and how time is fleeting, as I discussed last week. He says, excellent episode as always, Sir Greg. Thanks for keeping me excellent company during my build. You're right, time is fleeting. Just looking back at the videos I created a year ago is a mind bender. I'm looking at the sidebar right now on YouTube, and there's a bunch of your videos from 1 to 3 years ago, and it's amazing how much you and Clark have changed in such a short time. Honored to follow along with you on your journey every day. Yeah, this makes me want to recommend to you, if you're a parent and you don't take a bunch of photos or you don't record videos, please consider doing that. It's so much fun. Like I love going back and seeing these days that I don't even remember, and just clicking on one and you see like a day of Clark and I, whether we're building a Lego set or doing something around the house. And that's the kind of stuff that I should be recording right now. This whole week was lost. It won't be next week, but I agree with you 100%. I love looking back, and it's cool to have a record of things. In fact, I sometimes use my videos to help me, like with investigative work, like, hey, when did we get that thing? Did we have that, thing then? And I look back and I'm like, oh, that's where that happened. And I don't know, there's a lot of benefits to putting your stuff out there. And if you don't want to share it on YouTube, you don't have to. You could, though, make just an unlisted video and just have it sit there. And if your family wants to watch it, you can share the link with them and stuff. Maybe grandparents, they'd like to watch the kids do whatever. I'm going to try to encourage you in any way possible to make videos, to make a YouTube channel. But, there's a lot of good that can come from it. And some bad too, which we'll talk about here in just a bit. Jedi Lego Arts also comments on time. He says, I've been feeling the same way about time recently. Due to my job and the pandemic, I haven't been able to see my elderly mom and family hardly at all. We speak every day, but it's not the same. I feel time slipping away. And I think as we get older, we feel that way. I especially felt that last week when I saw my nephews. And I think that's where the topic started at. I saw my nephews, and they're completely grown up now. They're driving cars, and I'm just like, oh my God. I remember you when you were 5 years old, and you were Clark's age at one point. And then I was thinking about how Clark's going to be that in 10 years, and it's just craziness. This next comment here is from Mike C. He says, great episode. This one really resonated with me. We haven't seen family as often over the past 2 years, but we gathered on Thanksgiving and I saw my nephews. I remember when they thought I was so cool giving them the newest Ninjago set that they didn't even know came out. Time flies. Now my eldest nephew is 4 inches taller than me and talking about college applications and moving out. It's like that quote from The Office. I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you actually left them. Your content and channels are a reminder of that for me, and the need to be appreciative of the time we have. My daughter is almost at the age of where we can start having our own adventures, and I look forward to it. If we can have a fraction of what you've got with Clark, I'd be thrilled. Keep up the great work. Also, win of the week. Instead of spending the holiday weekend defeating the backlog, I finally put in the time to get the house in order and cleaned. Furniture moved and nursery ready for our baby due at the end of December. Hey, early congratulations on the new baby. It's a great time to get organized. But yeah, dude, you're living basically the same life that I'm living right now, where you remember these little kids and now it's like, holy smokes, these guys are all grown up. But it's awesome that you're just going back into it right now. You got the little one, you got another little one on the way. Dude, you guys are going to have a great time, Mike. I'm sure of it. And all you need to be as a parent is just one that puts time in their kids. And like, it's not hard to have fun, right? Your kids naturally love to do fun stuff, right? Like Clark likes playing video games. Clark likes running RCs. Clark likes building Lego. Clark likes Thomas. Clark likes monster trucks. I'm like, dude, I'm in. Having a daughter, I don't know if it'd be the same, but I feel like I'd be right there. I'd be like, all right, looks like we're collecting Barbies, boys. Let's go to Target. I'd be in. Let's do it. Whatever it is that my daughter would be into, I'd be into that as well. But I am thankful that I have a boy, just because, I'm already there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not to say that girls only collect girls' toys, because you never know. If Clark collected Barbies, I'd be into Barbies too. I'd be like, all right, dude, you're into Barbies? Let's go to Target. I just think you have to, the most important thing you can do is encourage your kid in whatever it is and just be proud of them when they accomplish things. I feel like those two things, if you do those two things as a parent, if you encourage your kids and you let them know how proud of them you are, easy street. At least in my experience, that's the best thing that I can recommend to people out there. But I don't know. I've only raised one kid, and it's so far been pretty darn good. Speaking of raising kids and maybe not doing it good, I put out a video this week on YouTube, believe it or not, of us getting a new RC truck, the Red Cat Wendigo, which I was so excited about because I've been looking at this thing for a really long time and like dreaming about it and thinking about getting it. And I just never pulled the trigger. But then Clarkman's dune buggy kind of pooped out on us. So I was like, hey, this is my opportunity. So I bought this thing as Clark's new RC and I framed it as that in the video because it is. It's like, it's for him to drive. So we get it, unbox it. We show it off. We're all excited about it, of course. We take it out, run it, have a great time, get some laughs in, flip it over a bunch of times, play in the playground. It was such a fun time. But then the comments come in on the video. And some of them, are obviously nice. Like, hey, loved it. You guys are, great video, whatever. The typical YouTube fare. But then the other comments started coming in. Mostly, I think, from kids because it's like, Clark is so spoiled. He doesn't deserve that truck. Or why do you spoil Clark so much? And just all these spoiled comments. And it kind of hurts me a little bit to see that. I mean, obviously Clark does get more than the average kid, I think. It definitely helps having a dad that's into the same things as you because like this Lego stuff, this isn't just his collection, like this stuff I collect as well. So even if I bought Clark nothing, he would still have a lot, right? But I think these comments, they're not from adults. Maybe adults think this too. But I think they're from kids who are maybe jealous of the life that Clark has or the things that he gets, and maybe they wish they had that. And I wish I could give that to them as well. Like I wish every kid could experience some of the things that Clarkman has in his life because it'd be so much fun. Like I would love to have more kids just to give them that experience. But it does hurt when you get comments about spoiling your kid. But for me, and I think I've talked about this before in this podcast because it does come up. Being spoiled isn't about receiving items. Being spoiled to me is about a mindset. It's about being unappreciative. And even one of those comments kind of like insinuated that Clark is unappreciative of the things he gets, which absolutely isn't true. Like I think of a spoiled kid as a kid that feels like he deserves things. A kid that'll go to a store and act up if they don't get the thing they want. A kid that just acts out. Clark doesn't act like that. He's very appreciative of the things he gets. He enjoys the things he gets, and I'm happy to give him the life that I can give him because of the opportunities that I have, whether it be in my time or in products. And that's a whole nother thing that should be discussed is like, imagine spoiling your kid. And this is one of my responses to one of these comments. Imagine that concept of spoiling your kid being buying something that you're both really excited about, opening it up, going crazy over it, and then taking it out and playing with that item together and having a great time as a father and son. If that's spoiling your kid, I wish more parents spoil their kids because my parents, even though I did have things, my parents didn't spoil me with their time. And that to me is the most important thing. So if we could buy something and go out and enjoy it, and you don't even have to buy anything. We could have just went for a walk that day. But like this is something that we love to do. This is our hobby. And we had an opportunity, I got it, and I don't feel bad about it at all, but it does suck when people judge you. And I guess that's just what YouTube is. YouTube is a place where people offer up their uninvited opinion. And it's, it sucks when you put out something that what you think is like positive to the world, like a father and son having a great time with an RC truck, for example, and for people's takeaway from that to be your son is spoiled. That just sucks. But what I've learned on YouTube is you have to kind of let these things roll off your shoulder. 99 good comments and one bad one. That bad one always sticks with you, but you just got to be like, okay, let's just let it go. But it's hard. So that kind of takes me to these next two comments, which are very relevant to that situation that happened this week. This one's from Boreal Bricks, who says, I would like to say one thing. I remember when I first saw your channel, I saw a video about Ninjago City and got angry and thought Clark was spoiled and that this is just another one of those advertising channels. But then when I was on quarantine, I watched one of your videos. Then from then I started watching some more. Then I really saw who you are, and I felt ashamed for feeling how I did in the beginning because I judged a book by its cover. I thought you were just another channel, but you're much more, and you have and are really changing my life. Thank you. I'm almost 14, and this channel has really helped me through a lot of things, so thank you. You and your family are really great people, which is such a nice thing to say, Real Bricks. But that is kind of, I wonder how many people actually think what Bereal thinks, but doesn't say anything. I first saw your channel, thought Clark was spoiled, and I don't want that to be that way. And sometimes I'll make jokes to people where I'm like, oh, this stuff isn't even for Clark. Clark isn't spoiled. This is all for me, you know, and it's for both of us, though. We do it together. I don't buy Clark things to buy his love. I buy things because I want to do it with him. I want to share these experiences with him. And, you know, it's hard to portray that in a video where you're rushing in with a box to open with a giant monster truck inside that costs several $100s. I guess that doesn't come through, but I don't know. I'll ask your guys' opinion on this. What are your thoughts? We'll throw it out there again. I know we've had this conversation before, but it's just, I think this is one that I'm always going to battle, unless I just stop sharing all the things that we do in that regard. Like maybe I'll show us out with an RC, but I won't show us opening the RC and the excitement of that, which just sucks. Because like, to me, that's like such a fun experience to share. But maybe it's just the 1%. This next comment, this is a very long one, but just a great comment from Hanos, hopefully is how you say it. He says, "Hey Greg, I love this episode. You mentioned so many things that feel the same way. In our family, my wife had the better salary, so it was obvious that after a while I'm going to be the one who will stay home with our daughter. Putting her into someone else's care for financial reasons while we're both working was out of the question. While we were waiting for her for 19 years. She's going to be 3 at the end of December, by the way. The positive thing in this whole COVID craziness is for us, my wife can work from home every day. So this way we're both home with our daughter. We can teach her together, we can play with her together, we can watch her grow. Playing with her and doing things together is a crucial thing for me. My parents never played with me. We never went anywhere together. They were just parents I knew I never wanted to be. This week we rearranged our living room. There were times when none of us could play with Flora. So yes, there were times when she just sat in front of the TV and watched Thomas, Bing, and of course you guys. She loves Clark, literally sometimes kisses the TV. So this week there was this one time when I came down from the attic, sweaty and dirty, and she came to me, took my hand and said, "Daddy, come play with me." I literally dropped everything and went to play with whatever she wanted to. She was, I don't know, never happened like this before. I knew I wouldn't finish my job for the day, but who cared? Her kindergarten is mandatory for kids above 3, but luckily because of some government funding, there are a lot of kids here born in the last few years, so since the kindergartners are full, she can start next September. So we had almost another extra year together. So when you say time goes fast, I cannot agree more with you. These are the days we can spend together. From next September, we will only see each other in the evenings and on weekends. So we have to make the most of these days, every day. As I mentioned before, we waited a long time for our little princess, so giving her everything that we can make her childhood happier is absolutely crucial. Yes, most people say we're spoiling her, even her grandma from my side, but hey, that's not surprising. By the way, we care for her as much as they cared about me. They care for her as much as they care about me. So if someone comments that Clark is spoiled, is someone who is a kid because, well, I don't know why these people have kids. Isn't it the main thing to make their life as easy, as good, as wonderful as we can? Life is not easy. Let them be little. Let them be happy as long as they can. Maybe if they grow up happy, they can handle life's challenges easier and have a better, happier life. Anyway, sorry for my long comment. Thanks for your videos. Watching you guys makes our days and life better. You guys give us a ton of inspiration and joy. So in our life, you were the missing piece. What a nice comment. I'm trying to hold it together here, Janos. But man, I feel you are in the same boat that I was in last year. You have this gift of this one extra year, and you're trying to soak every little bit of it in, and I hope that you do. You've got until next September. And it's going to go fast because it did for me. But man, just enjoy the heck out of it. And I appreciate the words there. And I can relate to you too about growing up with parents that really didn't really put the time in. So I'm glad that you're doing that. And spoil your daughter. If that's what spoiling is, if putting time and effort into your relationship with your son or daughter is spoiling them, even if that involves buying things, I say spoil away. But that's just my philosophy. And who knows whether it's going to work out or not. Maybe Clark will grow up as a spoiled brat and he'll become a really disgusting person when he's an adult. But I really don't think that's going to happen. And I'm willing to put everything on that he's going to be just fine. And he's going to end all of this, not with all the items that he owned. That's not going to be the important thing. He's going to think about all the things that we did together. And I'm happy to have all of this to share with him. And I'm thankful to be here with him while I can be. So your story resonates with me so much. And it's so crazy to think about all the different people that may be watching or listening to this or watch our videos, and all the different stories that are their lives and how sometimes they intersect ours. And yeah, it's just, I appreciate you watching our stuff, and I appreciate you taking the time to leave such a really nice comment. Never apologize for being too long, because the longer the better in my book. But man, I'm really excited for you, and you're with me. I'm with you. I don't know. I'm going to move on. Thank you for the comment, though, and thank you everyone else. Next one comes from Padawan Bricks. This is a really sweet comment, too. You guys are lighting me up here. It says, hello, Greg and others. I can now officially say Missing Pieces is my favorite series on YouTube. Wow, that's crazy. I went on my subscriptions, and all I was seeing was videos about the UCS AT-AT, and here is one where Greg is putting his heart and soul into this podcast. Also, longer content is what I thrive on. So as I go through the holidays and into next year, I'm excited to see the journey of Greg and everything that happens with him and his family. This is just an idea, but I think it'd be an amazing idea to do an episode with your mother-in-law. For what I've seen in Greg's world, she seems like the sweetest lady ever. Anyways, happy holidays, Greg, and I hope you have a fantastic day. You'd like to see a Missing Pieces episode with my mother-in-law? Oh, she'd be a hoot on here. We do episodes with her when we go yard sailing. So what I think I should do, thank you for the kind words, by the way. I'm glad that you're enjoying this podcast. And I'm loving the longer form content as well. There's oftentimes like creators that I like watching that sometimes make like hour-long videos. And I don't really watch. I mainly just listen. It's not really a podcast, but it's mostly just talking about stuff. And I like to get one of those recorders where I just kind of like talk about things throughout my day or my week and make it into something. I think there could be a market for that. Unfortunately, like you mentioned, went through my subscription and all I was seeing was UCS AT-AT. Frankly, that is what most of the YouTube audience wants to see. They don't want to see a podcast of a guy sitting down and reflecting on his life and the things he should be recording and whether he's spoiling his son or not. They want to see Lego sets and stuff. So I do question, and even after 108 episodes, I still question whether this series should be on this channel, because it's very little Lego and more just life. There almost needs to be just like a Greg Cast channel or something where I throw all these things out to. Maybe just make it like super long content. And maybe that could be a life for brickitect Live going into 2022, because I think this is a great asset to this channel and allows people to go from watching a video about Ninjago City, for example, to being like, oh, he does a podcast. Let's see what this is. Oh, there's a real person behind this channel. That's kind of interesting. I haven't really seen that in Lego before. I see people do reviews. I maybe see them go shopping. I maybe see them do hauls, but I've never like really seen them sit down for an hour and talk about their life. That's kind of neat. But again, it's an acquired taste. And for the audience that's on this channel, it's not necessarily what they're looking for. This would definitely be a better fit on Greg's world. But then the audience there, they're not really looking for that either. They're looking for like RC videos, Trackmaster stuff, monster trucks, going to the playgrounds and stuff. I don't have a place for me, guys. I think that's ultimately the problem that I have here. I don't have a place for me. There's a place for all the things that we do. And there's a place for the entertaining stuff, but for boring old Greg and his day-to-day activities and his lame podcast, there's just not a place for it. So I've been reflecting on what I want to do with this and where I want to go. I obviously want to keep doing this. At this point, it's just a matter of principle. You do something 108 times, you just don't stop, right? You can't just be like, okay, episode 108, it's the final one. No, I'm gonna keep this going. I just don't know where to do it at. I mean, it's fine sitting here. And I know people, obviously, like from the comments, people get enjoyment out of this and appreciate the time and effort that goes into it. But it's just, I don't know. I don't know if it fits. We'll see. Let me know your thoughts on that. Anything. Let me know your thoughts on anything. I love listener feedback. And I want to thank everyone thus far for listener feedback. This next one here, this is from L Nerd. And he's commenting on a statement that I made last week that I guess maybe I wasn't clear enough about. He says, if you think Lego is such a burden, I would suggest giving it a new life by donating it. You can bring joy to others and they can be thankful to you. Complaining about first world problems isn't the greatest look for you. And initially I got upset by this comment because I wasn't necessarily complaining about the burden that is my Lego collection. I was talking about really anything in your life that you are thinking about purchasing. I love my Lego collection. I love what I have. But when I buy sets now, especially with my storage room being pretty full, I think it's important, and again, this could apply to anything in your life. I think it's important to think about that thing, and will it add that amount of value to your life, and is it worth having and storing? And if the answer is yes, like if you really love it, say you love Ninjago, for example, and the newest Ninjago set is like the thing that you've always wanted, of course that's a good decision to make. But if it's just some random like, I don't know, Monkey Kid set, we'll throw Monkey Kid under the bus, and you're like, well, it's on sale, but it's like, do I really, like, am I going to enjoy building it? Is there, like, am I going to be interested in it? Then what am I going to do with it? Where am I going to put it? That is the burden. And that could apply towards anything. I cleaned out my closet today. I donated some clothing. When I get new clothes, it's like, do I need another sweatshirt? If I have an old sweatshirt, could I get rid of that one? Do I still wear all these things? Like, I guess the things you own, you need to think about whether you're getting value out of them. So that's where the burden is. It's having things is a burden. I don't really appreciate the last comment here. Complaining about first world problems isn't the greatest look for you. I hate that statement, first world problems, because it's almost as though if you have a house to live in and food in your stomach, you're supposed to not complain about anything in your life. You're not supposed to have any problems. It's really discounting someone's feelings because we live in the first world. You know what I mean? Even if you're a millionaire, you still have issues in your life. And those are very real issues. Just because you're rich or you have things or whatever doesn't mean that you don't have problems that you struggle with. So I don't think that's a great thing to put out there. And I really hate that statement in general. And also, I guess this comment is as misdirected as it is. Maybe it was me because I didn't explain myself good enough. How about when you put out like something like Missing Pieces, for example, where you talk about any number of things. Last week, I guess the big topic was how time is fleeting. And you sit there for 40 minutes or whatever and talk about all of these things. And someone listens to it, and the one takeaway that they have out of everything that you talked about is that you're complaining about first world problems when you talk about the burden that is collecting things. Like, how is that the one thing? And that's always like, that's something that bothers me about YouTube comments. If you haven't been able to tell from this podcast, and if you haven't been able to tell from actually looking at YouTube comments are maybe one of the worst places on the internet. There's probably worse, but it's awful. And I compare it to a place like Reddit where there's actually like people having discussions and like knowledge being transmitted. And then you go to YouTube and look at the comment and it's awful. But it's so frustrating when you put your heart and soul into something, as we talked about earlier here, and you get a comment like, your kid is spoiled, or the first world problems isn't the greatest look for you, or whatever, you made a mistake, or whatever it is, like critical stuff like that, when there's so much positivity to be taken away from something, Can you be happy for someone that's able to buy an RC truck for their kids? Certainly. Can you relate to somebody that maybe has a big Lego collection that it's like, wow, I have a lot of stuff. Do I want to add more stuff to that? I would think so, right? And again, so many comments, I think, and like that I experience come from a place of jealousy. Like this person, it may be that, it may be not. I don't know. I would love a follow-up from Eleanor if they want to talk on this. Maybe this is your one takeaway from this episode, even though we're pretty deep into this. It's just, I guess you got to take the good with the bad. You get lots of nice comments like we've had thus far, and then you get something like that. And I guess some of it just comes, I guess my biggest thing is that I just feel like misunderstood, I suppose. Like the whole spoiling thing, I feel misunderstood there. I feel misunderstood here. I don't know. Anyways, let's wrap this up with some wins of the week, guys. Starting with Brian's Bricks. Says, hey, Greg, haven't tuned in a while. I'm not sure if you still do wins of the week. Darn right I am, Brian. Says, mine was getting a sealed Bugatti in an open box corner garage for a total of $230. Oh my God, it's a win of the lifetime there. Sealed Bugatti. That's worth it for the Bugatti alone. The corner garage is like the icing on the cake. Did it fall off a truck? I don't know how you got it, Brian, but that's pretty epic, dude. $230. That's, jeez. Next one comes from Jacob. He says, I'm so thankful this week I was able to recreate and improve an old mock of mine, as well as my mother giving, totally not through blackmail, giving me $35 worth of pieces for another mock or mod. So happy right now. Another win of the week. Not quite as amazing as getting a sealed Bugatti in a corner garage, but hey, if you can make something awesome out of it, that's pretty cool. Just don't let your mom spoil you, though. I feel like she's spoiling you a little bit. I don't feel like you deserve it. I'm kidding. Next one comes from Jareth, who says, my win of the week was graduating high school. Time to get on with the rest of my life, I guess. I love the videos, more so Greg's World, but I still enjoy brickitect, especially Missing Pieces. Not really a Lego fan, but likes this, and I think it's cool that somebody exists out there like that. So Jareth, thank you for watching, and congratulations on defeating high school. I wish you the best with whatever your next step is. Next and last win of the week comes from Nick, the Lego Brick. He says, I always listen to these when I do my geometry homework, and it makes my way more enjoyable. Making something terrible enjoyable. Missing Pieces. He says, my win of the week was having my cousins in Andover for Thanksgiving. It was so much fun. I usually only see them once a year. Keep making awesome content. Can't wait for the next episode. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode, Nick, and I hope everyone else did as well. Thank you for being my free therapist as I sit down and talk about all the things that I talk about each week, things that make me happy, things that make me sad, feelings that I have. I love getting them out there, and now I feel weightless now. So thank you guys for that, and hopefully you got something from this episode as well, as opposed to it just being me. But it's awesome. I love being able to do this, and I love hearing from you guys. Like, you guys, your Missing Pieces feedback is honestly what makes these episodes. So if you would love, I would love for you to throw something out there for next week. It can be anything. If you want to talk about something completely unrelated to this, that's great too, because I mean, look at me. I just have these boring weeks where I have nothing to share. So if you have a topic that you'd like to talk about, Lego, non-Lego, whatever it is, throw it out there and I'd be happy to discuss it. If you have a win of the week, throw them out there too. They make everyone feel good. Makes you just like, I love leaving these episodes feeling like we can conquer this week. So I hope you do conquer this week. I hope you have a glorious day. And as always, we'll find you in the next Missing Pieces.